Welcome, everybody. Really appreciate you taking time out of your day to join TrackForce on this webinar. But today we're going to talk about one of my favorite problems in physical security, which is really the work that nobody sees, and that's kind of mysterious, interesting. But I think a lot of people can probably identify with that problem. There's lots of work that happens in our industry that is not documented and not reported, and therefore diminishes the value of a security program. So let's get into it. I'll introduce who's on the call with us today. So I'm James Benham, Chief Strategy and Growth Officer for TrackForce. I'll be joined by Moody Taylor Klein, who's one of our, I would say, senior solution consultants, but really kind of knows the product inside and out. And he'll be taking us through a little bit of the demo in terms of how we're trying to approach this problem. And then Peter Tadros, who's going to join us. He's a group product manager for our guarding platform, and he'll take us through sort of what is next. All right. So just with respect to a quick agenda, so we'll talk at the start a little bit more around the problem, right, and how pervasive it is and kind of what we're seeing in the industry. And then we'll talk about what is called site tasks, which is really the capability that we'll be digging into today. Talk a little bit about the impact that it's having and we're seeing in the market today in terms of filling in those gaps and providing information that was previously unseen. And then we'll talk about roadmap and what's next. And ideally, you'll have tons of questions that you can ask at the end, but please feel free to put them into the Q&A. There's a Q&A button in Zoom where you can just kind of start to launch those questions as we go through. So please don't hesitate to lean in, and we'll do our best to kind of get through those before the end of the webinar. All right. So this is really the problem, right? And it's no more complex than this, although under the surface, I think it's complex to figure out how to address it, and we'll talk through that. But really, the work that happens between the tours, and what do we mean by that? And so when we think about a site, think about static guarding and mobile guarding, we really want to understand everything that's going on around a site, right? So we have camera infrastructure, we have access control, we have guard tour going on. But sometimes there's activity that happens in between incidents. It happens in between guard tours that goes undocumented, right? So the security program, where people may ask the folks that are running the security program, whether those are the officers in the field, to do things, right? Whether those are non-security related compliance checks, but that work is still being done, but it's not being captured, right? And how do we capture that? First and foremost, for audit purposes. So if something does happen, we know what was happening. And then secondly, it's really around proving the value of the program. So how do you capture more data? And obviously that data is pretty valuable to drive intelligence systems and AI that are downstream consuming what happened on a daily basis in and around a site. So we don't want to have things like shadow activities. So extra checks, hey, can you do this as a favor? We really want to schedule those as best as possible and document those in the system of record, the platform. And then secondarily, we don't want to have supervisors flying blind, right? They need to know what's going on at the site. They need to know the total scope of activities so they can help communicate that value and the impact to the folks that are really responsible for running that security program. Okay, so that kind of frames the problem. And if we look at, it's like, okay, well, don't we have guard tour? Like, how is it different? So when you think about, guard tours are scheduled patrols, they're discrete moments in time, they're patrol activity at fixed intervals. We're going to do NFC tokens, scans, GPS tours, but they have a binary start and finish, and they're built for kind of checkpoint coverage, right? We're doing the work. But then there's everything else that happens in and around the site that traditionally wasn't captured by guard tours. So it's a natural extension of what happens around the site for ad hoc requests, multi-day inspections with stage progress, links to specific assets that can be used in some of these tasks. So really, this gives you a much more complete operational picture of what is going on, right? And ultimately, proving the value of the program, which is super important. So with that, we'll launch a bit of a poll, but we really just want to understand what folks on the call are using today to track guard activity that falls outside of the formal patrol routes that you're following today. So we'll launch that poll. We'll let folks answer that, and then we'll kind of go through um, kind of where people were thinking. All right. So obviously not a skill testing question. So let's kind of see where the answers came in. Um, so the formal kind of response is really around like digital forms and incident reports. So, less than half, I think, are kind of focused there. There's a lot that are not focused on or consistently tracking some of these things. Very a minority kind of with a dedicated task management system or verbal updates. So I think people are trying. They're using digital forms, which is great, but does that really integrate with the system of record, right? And that's, I think, the real question we want to answer today. All right. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Moody, who will kind of take us through what does it look like, and how does it work in the real world. So I'll hand it over to you, Moody, and you can spin up the demo for us.
Hey, thanks, James. And nice to see and ha have everybody on the call today. And definitely nice to have some good new company with Peter. All right, so what we're looking at here is our guarding suite platform with a profile of an individual location. For those traditionally understood that we would have any of the activities that would be carried out and planned would be under our security and patrol tab. And generally, this, as James pointed out, was kind of the doing around what might be happening traditionally from a guard activity. But again, what flexibility do we have to do other things, which we also think are important for our client to be aware of so that we can show the value of the services that the security teams are carrying out. So enter site tasks, a more comprehensive scheduled view, more adaptable to have different statuses, whether you're starting something, pending, completed, or unfortunately in some cases missed. But it's just an overall better way to manage those activities that are key to the success of showing your value to your client. Having a simple way to also create and spool up different tasks also gives you a nice value so that whenever two things get requested of your team, whether that's maybe accompanying you to the car for our higher education, it might be doing some checks on any of the blue lights as part of the Clery Act to make sure that they're functioning. And of course, from a manufacturing side, multi-day compliance checks. These are all different activities that require a comprehensive view so that you can make sure that from any auditing or any renewals, you can show your value. Now let's look a little bit of the background of some of the aesthetics of the actual site task. We've got some ID configurations so that you can actually have dedicated IDs for higher levels of reporting. You've got obviously jobs and different job types that you're used to carrying out. And so you can be really specific so that the officer knows exactly what job you expect them to do. And then, of course, general descriptions and defining which post will carry out those tasks. And no, we did not forget about our awesome feature of chores. We've connected it. So when you want to have a more scheduled, simpler way to carry out your checks, you don't have to undo any of your tours. You can just simply link them to that tour. So now you have a more calendar view set up so that you'll be able to enjoy that information. So what does that look like when it's all finished, when it's all said and done? You've got a simple setup of all of that activity and information that you planned in the system. You can even actually add some assets with some of our other features that connect it to. And at the same time, you've defined your schedule on a weekly or bi-weekly or monthly. So these types of configuration will give you the flexibility that everyone wants when it comes to making sure that those tasks get completed on time and definitely the way that the client would like them to be done. So on the right-hand side, you'll see my phone that's being set up here with two tasks that I've had set up for me. So I've got my date. I've got the amount of tasks I have to complete. I've also got a couple of ad hoc checks that I can do if
Hey,
I've got
Moody,
some time
I
to
think
spare.
we're just maybe getting some questions around screen sharing. Hopefully, everybody can see the screen. If you can't, I believe there's a tab that shows up at the top of
Mhm.
Zoom where you can kind of switch between screens,
Yeah,
and you'll
oh,
see
wait,
the option for Moody's screen. So hopefully that answers the question that came in.
for sure. And maybe if they've got a thumbs up or some other form of popular emoji. Great. Well, for everyone else who can't see it and enjoying it, so you've got that actual ad hoc option, so you can start that up if you'd like. Now, when starting a task, the most important thing to note is that You can also assign it to yourself, but then start it later. So you've got the flexibility to not only just assign a task at the start of the day, but then later on carry it out. So I'll assign this task to me and then start it. Now, starting the task really just gives me all the description details on the instructions. I've got my position and the time frame it should be completed. So now having a report required to complete it just lets me know that I can complete all of these questions once it's done to that earlier poll. So you still have that digital form record, but now you've got it connected to the other information, which is critical of the amount and volume of tasks you have completed. So answering these questions are pretty simple. At the same time, you can define any of the fields you'd like to define for these and make your own version of what's required for you to have it, all the way down to a signature, as well as any of the details that you want to have as additional comments for you to fill in. And so once that's done and you've got your details, you have the flexibility to now complete your task. And of course, if there's other information and you've gotten called to do something more urgent from a priority perspective, you can always postpone it and then complete the task. Now, still the same thing applies as far as real-time information and real-time data. You'll still get that quick update of that guard that finished that task. At the same time, if you want to review any of those details, you've got the flexibility of our great reporting that'll let you know anytime a task has been completed, has been scheduled or missed, and of course, the additional data for the different types of jobs. So we not only give you the information as it's happening, but also bring it all home so that you can have one overall report to share with your client of all the activities over the dedicated time frame. All right. If there's any other questions, I know we got still some more from Peter to give us all the more details about tasks and how important our site tasks are. So over to you, Peter.
Well, thanks so much, Moody. It's a great demo. And now if you can go to the next slide. Thank you. All right, so now we have seen side task in actions. Let me double click more on side task and pretty much summarize what is side task and how we can leverage side task. So basically, I want you to think about it this way. So side task is a task management layer that sits right into your operation. Basically, it can capture all the guard activity, whether it was scheduled or ad hoc or something that just came up like 5 minutes ago. So if I would break side task into like three main pillars, I would do it as follow. So the first one will be accountability, where each and every task has an owner and has a status. So any supervisor, they can see and understand or can track if we have a done task, in progress task, or missed task in real time. The second one would be visibility. And visibility, there's no more like verbal check-ins. Basically, all you have to do is just you're gonna get a clear view of all the planned and unplanned activity across all the sites. And the last pillar would be the documentation. And when it comes to the documentation, this is the one that maybe people underestimate. But this is where, when the contract renewal season hits, this is where you can prove, hey, there's like timestamp auditable records in my system that I can show exactly what has been done by whom and when. So I can ready to review this and, prove the value of that. Let's go to the next slide. All right. And on this one here, basically, we're going to jump more into the business cases of side task and show how can side task shows an impact. So I'll give you like a business case that, we faced a lot in the field. Someone come and saying, my guard's in the field and they keep get asked by client manager, like by site manager or by the, I would say the client themselves, asking them for extra tasks to be done during the day. That it could be like outside of the contract, like could be like something shovel the snow. It could be like, hey, can you walk my dog? Can you do this extra check? All of these extra asks that the guard keep getting in the field. So with having side tasks, all the guard needs to do is basically just pull up the phone, open up TrackTech application, and open up site task. They can log these new tasks manually from the app, and then they're gonna have a documented timestamp record so they can show the value of what they are doing. And as an impact for that, by the end of the day, you're gonna have like an extra value added work that the guards are doing in the field. and that will be captured and will be tracked and visible when it comes to like the contract renewal season, or it's going to be approved that your guard is doing more than what they were asked at the beginning to do. And Moody, I'm not sure if you want to share something here, but feel free to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. If definitely one of the things that's really kind of driving a lot of this is making sure that you have the right notifications. So when those tasks are late or when they're actually missed, those notifications will also provide a lot of the context and approach, which will drive the impact. So making sure that we can also keep the guards aware of those tasks when they're supposed to come up, and at the same time, keeping the supervisors aware of what's critical that they should be assigning. Those are all the things that'll tie everything back together so you have a more complete workflow for your guards when they're working, and also a standardization so everyone can take full advantage of all the data that's being collected.
Exactly. Thanks, Moody. Um, all right. And now if you can go to the next one. And this is the one that basically will focus more on the product updates. So as you have seen in the demo and what Modi showed us, so I just want to highlight the four main functionality that we have added recently, and they are currently available in production. So the first one is reminders. Right now, you can go ahead and set reminders for all the scheduled tasks. So you want to make sure that you reduce the percentage of missed task in the field and keep the team on track. The second one will be the exception rules. You can go ahead right now and configure exception rules when it comes to any missed, postponed, unfinished, or late task in the field. You can set up a notification whether to receive it by SMS or email notification, and also it can be a call to action, which is how we call it CTA. If you use Command Center, that will show up right away in your Command Center. The third one will be the easy handoffs. So imagine a scenario where you have a guard in the field, and this guard, let's say, overwhelmed with 10 tasks to do during the day, and he has one of his teammates who has, let's say, five, seven tasks. So we created like I would say a sense of communication in the field where the guard with 10 tasks can hand over one or two tasks to his teammate. And by doing that, you can do it from the mobile app, no dispatcher needed, and the guards will be communicating that in the field with, of course, like approval and decline process in place. And the last one is the analytics dashboard that you have seen in the demo. This is where we can aggregate all the site task information at the site, zone, or region level. And this is where you can get a little bit of insights and pattern. Let's say if I know that mood is missing, tasks all the time, so I can easily capture that and understand, okay, what's going on. And on the what's next when it comes to site tasks, in the near future, you will be able to schedule site tasks around holiday days and let's say holiday eves and any special day that you have in your region or in your area. So you can basically set site task and forget it. You can set it one and forget it. You don't need to track this manually, set up a reminder just to remind you to add more tasks or less tasks on these specific occasions. So this is where we are. This is what we have in production, and this is what's coming next. And I'm gonna hand it over back to James.
Thanks, Peter. Fantastic. So let's go to questions and just see what questions folks have, and as they queue up, we can start to continue to answer them. But why don't we get started with the first question? So, will there be a feature for specific duration windows, like 10 days or within 5 days, etc., to better manage those tasks? So, maybe. Moody, do you want to start with that one?
Well, I definitely know it's already in our backlog as one of the more as I
Exactly.
see Peter's head nodding. So yeah, great call out, and that's exactly where we're kind of driving to. So stay tuned for more on that. We definitely want to have as much flexibility around the frequency and the timing, and definitely for sectors like the manufacturing sector, where you might have to do checks within 5 days of the last one. That's the type of functionality that is coming soon.
Exactly. Thanks, Molly.
Excellent. And maybe just like a follow-on question for that. If we see kind of recurring themes around things like ad hoc tasks, is there a way to kind of identify those themes and patterns to say, yes, this ad hoc task is happening quite frequently, and perhaps we could turn that into a new service line? I don't know, Moody, Peter, is there a way to better track themes and patterns that are coming out of some of these activities that are now being documented?
Well, I can jump in first, and then if you want, Peter, you can follow up. So what I've seen actually, which was kind of a funny story prior to us building Site Task, is with our dispatching module that we have known as Command Center, we had clients that were actually performing a lot of additional tasks. And one of the advantages, like you said, is that because it's a job, you're able to see the volume of that job. And with the help of our analytics that we have defaulted into system, but also with the power of Data Lab where you can visualize that, you can start to see the trend by user and by location as to those activities. And you're absolutely right. It is a leading indicator for more business and new revenue streams. So the recommendation with our implementation team, whenever you're setting up site tasks, is to define an ad hoc task. Tie it back to your report so that you can easily report out the volume of those activities and the volume of those requests. Those are the best conversations to have with your client, how much more service you can do, and the value you're bringing.
Awesome. Yeah, I think there's a great quote. I think Jim Barksdale back in the day, but it was like, if there's no data, we're just going to use opinions, and if we're going to use opinions, we may as well use mine, right? So I think with data, you can actually drive some of these real insights that you're going to be able to have a more meaningful conversation with your stakeholders. Okay, a couple more questions here. So, um, I think there's some comments around kind of user experience and, what is our plan around user experience. And so we continue to iterate there. You'll see some of the embedded visuals, which are coming from kind of our newer front end framework. But as our design leadership starts to lean in more, we're continuing to update and reimagine the user interface. And we're actually starting with our Guard app, which touches a lot of people. So stay tuned for more information on how we're kind of more broadly updating the interface. Um, Next question was, can tasks be automatically generated? E.g., can the same task be created at the start of every month and then auto-assigned to the same person? So Moody is here smiling. So why don't you start there and we'll let
Yeah, and I
Peter
think
go.
that's a very good call. Once again, I'm wondering if all these people on the call are actually in our product meetings. But but yeah, the short answer is there's no auto assign to actually have someone because when they actually log on to the device, they're already the person assigned to that device with their login. So simply them just starting the task is actually what's assigning them to do that work. The idea we had, and definitely welcome all the feedback from the experts, which is our client base, is that we would have someone who has the ability not only to start something right when they start work, but also be able to hand it off to someone else so that they can start it for them if ever there's a critical time. Think about the health sector where you might have a code blue on one floor, and at the same time, you're supposed to do a security check. You've got a greater flexibility with another individual to see that that task hasn't been started and start it for them. So today there's no auto assign, but I would definitely love to hear more with our amazing support feedback that you can just chime in and give us some use cases to how we can maybe make it more optimal for you.
Yeah. However, Moody, you can still schedule a test that happens once a month, like
Definitely,
on a monthly basis.
definitely,
Yeah, there's no,
definitely.
yeah, exactly.
And I can show you if you'd like if you wanted to kind of see that again, but just flag it in the comments if you want to see a little bit of it again.
And I guess just a natural extension of that would be, as you think about agentic and workflows, maybe just some commentary around, are there agentic use cases around task management to start to further automate here?
You definitely threw a lob for me to hit a home run with that, so it's great. Yeah, let me share my screen again. So I've been working on a couple of small things. My two favorite letters these days are A and I. So I've been thinking about how we actually, figure out the best ways to make the tool of AI functional to our actual client base. Now, looking at my screen here, this is coming from our amazing module known as Data Lab. So for some of you on the call that do have TrackTick and do have Data Lab, you'll know what I'm talking about. Being able to visualize your data, being able to bring different views, make it more of a workspace for you. So one of the things that we thought about was that wouldn't it be great if there was someone able to just read this data and react to it? So the ideas that we had around this, and stay with me, is that you can actually define a lot of the tasks that you may want to have your AI assistant do for you. So maybe I've got 5 missed tasks that I want the agent to be able to execute for me. Maybe I've got him to schedule a couple for next week. And at the same time, I'd still be able to track all of those activities just by having them logged within our system. So one of the future projects for us right now is how to have the sort of human in the loop ways of having an assistant to be able to perform a lot of these, we'd say, mundane tasks, but also relevant details that need to be completed, but the volume is so high that it really isn't, scalable for someone to come into work and see that they have to reassign 40 different tasks. So this is some of the projects we're working on. Definitely excited to see how far we can get and how fast we can ship some prototype for people to start playing with. But yeah, that's where we're going.
Perfect. Thanks, Moody. So next question. So great. Thank you for all the questions, by the way. This is great to kind of have a two-way dialogue through chat. But yeah, how does this tie into a zone user, such as a mobile unit? Maybe Peter, I'm thinking you could probably answer this one that has multiple sites to visit. Would this bridge the issue of, closed run sheet scheduled patrols and use this as a substitution when needing to visit sites within a weekly by weekly duration? So I guess the connectivity between mobile guarding and static guarding, kind of how do we bridge the gap there?
Yeah, so I can take this one, James. So yeah, definitely we do have a connection between run sheet and site tasks at the moment. So site task is mainly at the site level, so mainly for static guarding who's sitting at the site doing, like tasks on a daily basis. But however, if you do have a mobile patroller who's, like driving the car and for some reason they won't be able to make it for a specific site, if we do have a static guard on that side, they can always convert the run sheet assignment or the run sheet job that they have to a side task. So by doing that, they're gonna communicate with the static guard sitting on that side so they can do the job on behalf of them. So think about it like if you're driving, you're going to site A and you got, let's say, I don't know, protesters in the way, like an accident, you won't be able to make it in time. You can always communicate that with the static guard sitting there so they can do the job instead of you. So yeah, this is what's currently available when we have like communication or bridge between the Ranchi system that we have and site tasks.
Awesome. So really a seamless handoff between the two worlds. So we're really kind of connecting both those worlds of the mobile world, mobile patrol world into the static guarding world. All right. I guess the next question is this an add-on or a soon to be released feature?
So it's been out for a little while, so it's definitely an additional feature, and we definitely encourage you to reach out to your client success manager or on our website if you haven't if you're not already a TrackTick user, so we can give you more details on how you can expand on your guarding platform and also on your guard services.
Awesome. All right. Okay, we got a couple more questions here, so let's keep going. Um, is there a map view to track current patrols?
And is that is that related to the, well, I guess I'll sort of say it in two ways. So there is a way to visualize on the map where those activities have taken shape, and there is a way to see if there's any deviations. That's tied to our command center. And once you're in our command center, you'll be able to see those different types of tasks on the map view and their status.
Awesome. All right. And then can a zone user that logs into a site see tasks?
I can take this one, James. Right now, the answer is no, because site task mainly was built for static guarding, but we keep getting this feedback a lot, so maybe that's something we can look into in the future.
All right. Awesome. And then is there a cost associated with the add-on? So the short answer is yes, there is a cost. I think just please work with your account executive or your client success contact, who can kind of take you through the mechanics of that and obviously help you kind of quantify the impact that this could have in your business if you do deploy it. All right. Perfect. So I think that's pretty good for questions right now. And I appreciate everybody taking the time to join. And hopefully you take away from this one thing, which is really how do we generate more information around what's going on at a site? And there's tools at your disposal to do that that will help kind of prove the value of the program. And then we, as TrackForce, we're really looking at better ways to automate that, right? How do we make that more efficient for the folks that are doing the doing, for lack of a better description? Because, not a lot of people want to actually create and manage tasks themselves. So as we think about the agentic world, how do we help do that, but still keep the human in the loop? So that's kind of what's next. That's what we're really excited about. But really appreciate everyone taking the time today to join us, and stay tuned for what's coming next from TrackForce.